Russian troops will very soon be engaged in combat with Ukrainian forces, according to a Frontline reporter. Australian photojournalist Bryce Wilson was speaking on Today this morning close to the border with rebel-controlled regions of eastern Ukraine now occupied by Russian forces. Amid the rising tensions, thousands of Ukrainian civilians have received military training, with footage showing an elderly woman holding a gun during one drill. Ukrainian civilians are undergoing basic military training and firearm drills, including this elderly woman. Photo, Bryce Wilson, supplied. Mr. Wilson said artillery fire had damaged homes and infrastructure on the front line between areas under Ukrainian government control and the separatist-ruled areas. He also said Ukrainian soldiers and defense volunteers had been killed and injured. More Ukrainian soldiers have been killed. More have been wounded. I was hearing artillery fire most of the day today, Mr. Wilson said. Things are getting, much worse here. People are worried. Joe Biden unveils US sanctions against Russia. Australian photojournalist Bryce Wilson believes there will soon be a major war in the Donbas region of Ukraine. 9. Convoys of armored vehicles were seen rolling across Ukraine's separatist-controlled territories overnight. It wasn't immediately clear if they were Russian, but NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said on Tuesday that we saw last night that further Russian troops moved into the Donbas into parts of Donetsk and Lugansk. The Ukrainian government has ruled out mobilizing its armed forces, but has called up reservists. For past weeks, it has also been training thousands of civilians in basic military training. Wilson said he believed the rising tensions will risk direct confrontation between the Russian military and Ukrainian government forces. It really does seem like there is going to be conflict where, without hiding, the military forces of the Russian Federation, who have invaded Ukraine again, in direct combat with the Ukrainian armed forces. Wilson said he was unsure whether Mr. Putin would order a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, but said he feared there would be a significant conflict in Donbas. Call for Australia to join economic sanctions on Russia. Flames and smoke billow from a thermal power plant, which, according to local authorities, was damaged by shelling near the front line in the town of Shastia in the Luhansk region of Ukraine. AP. Based on what I'm seeing and my history of having worked here, I really do think that there is going to be a war Donbas. Over past months, Ukraine has been preparing its armed forces, as well as thousands of civilian volunteers who have been given basic military training. Ukraine activates reserve forces as Russia moves in. Australian resident returns to Ukraine. Australian resident Pixie Schmigel has told how she decided to return to Ukraine this week despite the increasing risk of war with Russia. Ms. Schmigel said she is staying in the city of Lviv, close to the Polish border. Australian resident Pixie Schmigel has decided to return to Ukraine. 9. She decided to fly to Ukraine to help give the country's younger people a voice, she said.